Well, hello everyone. Welcome back for this week's Parable Essentials podcast. It has been a pleasure to be joined the journey with you. Whilst I know many of our church tune into these podcasts where we talk about leadership, culture, all things building church, and just people's stories and testimonies. We know there's people who are flies on the wall from around the globe. We're reaching around the world. No, we don't even know. It's just great to have you a part of the journey, and hopefully you are blessed by these episodes. If you do love this, why don't you like it? Why don't you subscribe to it? Why don't you share it? That would be such a blessing to us. We are just a newly planted pioneering church, and hopefully you can gain a bit of wisdom in real time of what building a church and working with people look like. And I'm excited for today's episode because I am here with the one and only people. We have spared no expense to get the best of the best. Also one of my best friends, also childhood friends, also Tuck Shop Coffee. Shout out Tuck Shop, give us some freebies. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Crocker. Give it up for him right there. The crowd goes wild. Yes, high. I'll take that. But how good it's to have Matty Crocker here, who is, I think, world-class worship leader, songwriter. He needs no introduction. But Matty, it's great to have you on today.
Good to be here, bro.
Yeah.
Love it.
What's it like being on like these sorts of things? Are you?
That's so good.
Yeah?
I haven't done it for ages, but yeah, recently I've been doing a fair bit of it. So
Yeah.
it's
That's right, because you've just released your album. You're kind of like your first album, right?
Yeah.
Solo album,
Yeah.
if you like.
first and last, maybe.
No
We'll see.
way, man. He's just released Interlude, which I got to tell you, we have been jamming to it, and we'll talk a little bit about it, but it's been phenomenal. So big congratulations
Thank
on
you,
that.
bro.
How you feeling about it?
Yeah, so good. I'm glad it's out because it's been a long journey, but two, like the response has been awesome, and like the things I was hoping for from it, like hearing from people, is kind of been the thing I've been getting. So I'm like really stoked. But yeah, it's been great.
It's so cool. I actually read a little snippet. You did an interview with Relevant magazine or something like that, which is a big Christian sort of magazine or whatever you want to call it. But it was a cool interview to hear a little bit of your heart behind the project. And I just think it speaks so well of who you are, which would be cool to get to know you a little bit and just know about your gifting and your talent. You're not only one of the most gifted people I know, I think he's one of the most humble people I know as well. And I think that is something that you just exemplify so much. It's pretty cool. But I think like for many of us, many of people maybe watching, maybe know who you are, maybe know Matty on the platform. Matty is part of United. Matty, the incredible songwriter and worship leader. But it'd be cool to kind of just go to the very beginnings of like where this gift actually started.
Yeah.
I know your parents, and I remember coming over your house when we were just but young children. I don't know what I was going with that. But you used to have your dad used to have all these guitars.
Yeah, you still got them.
You still got them all hanging around and shout out to him.
Man. And I remember when Pete would come around and try to record songs, him and our friend Harry.
Yes.
And I'd go to sleep. I'd be like, all right, you do your thing. And I was like, but I don't know, how old were we? We were teenagers. So
I don't know.
like
We had
16
nothing
years
else
old.
to do. But I'd like to say I was there at the beginning of your launch pad. And anyway, it was...
I mean, we were both drummers in youth as well.
That's
so.
right. Matty
try.
and I grew up in youth together drumming.
Yeah.
I would borrow your cymbals. I think I cracked one of your cymbals one time.
Probably. I can't remember. And then the kit we would all play on down there was it was made of cardboard. Do you remember that kit, Remo?
Yes.
It was made of compressed cardboard. It was
That's
so
right.
bad. And it was all like wires keeping it together so no one could steal any of
That's
it.
right.
It was so bad.
Yeah, because Bible college students used to come home and could
you
take
try to
over
be
the-
adjusting it. It's like you'd move this, but then that would move.
That
at the
would
same
be
time.
totally.
It's so annoying.
You used to have
Anyways,
like a Mapex or something, right?
I had
golden
a.
Mapex.
Oh my gosh.
Maple.
Yeah, I don't know. It was it Yamaha? I don't know what it was. It was cool.
Yeah, that's right. So we drummed together, and if you weren't on, I was on one week, and it was awesome. But you were a bit of a punk drummer back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all into like Blink-182 and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Even
Travis
I
Barker.
I even tried to do my hair like Tommy DeLonge back in the day.
Just let it be.
But wait.
Yeah, man, my start.
yeah,
it
like
was
where did it all start? Where did this musical ability, creativity?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to believe that it's like God given. Like, just a gift he's put into my heart, like
Yeah.
something he's put there. But apart from that, like I think my family, like even my grandma, like she, my mum's mum, she's always been into art, poetry. Like she got into, I can't remember if it was like oils or drawing, whatever she was doing, but she's been really good ever since I can remember it, doing those things. And she would gather people doing that. And then like my dad's, or like you said, I've grown up with guitars in the house. He's been playing and loving music forever. And so for me, it was just this natural kind of like, there's a piano, it's always been out of tune, but it's like we're still in the house. It's something I'd always try to play. So it's just instruments around me. And then music was this thing I just gravitated towards. Like drums for me was kind of the first thing. I can't remember like my first kind of like experience of seeing it. The drummers, maybe it was like John Farnham or something Dad was watching.
You're the voice.
But I remember my grandpa gave me 2 drumsticks and they were like everything to me. Like I'd be hitting everything, so I'd set up pots and pans and like pillows and that. And so I can remember that at like 4 years old, hitting like whatever I could find with them. And that kind of just grew into like wanting to learn how to play drums at school, and I started learning. And then I was kind of I didn't take it too seriously until I got to about grade 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And then I was always too scared to touch Dad's guitars because I didn't want to break them. And I think like it was just like this don't touch them kind of thing, which probably wasn't coming from him. I was just too scared to touch them. But at school, just watching like all these people, like older guys, this band called Brimstone Rock, I think that's what they were called. They were like the guys at school, grade 12, and they had this rock band. And so like I'd see him always playing the classical guitars like at lunchtime and that. And so I just kind of like started picking it up. My sister, not Naomi, my other sister, Susanna, she would always be playing like Can't Buy Me Love or something on the acoustic. So I just was like drawn towards it. And then it kind of just turned into this love affair. Like I was obsessed with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I guess one thing like led to another. You grow up in church.
Yeah.
And in youth and
yeah. Well, it was like, grew up at church. But then music for me was mostly like outside of church before like youth. Like I didn't really, like before that I was already starting to play drums, get a bit more serious about it with my friend. At school we'd sneak into the music room at the end of school. We both had to wait for mum to finish like work for the day.
Yeah.
So we'd sneak in there. And then my cousin was like, hey man, you want to play drums in our band? It's like a punk band. I was like, all right, let's do it. I was so nervous, so I said yeah. And that was the start of the journey for me, like on a serious kind of like journey, like being in bands, and like we changed band names maybe 50 times. And we were part of this band competition with Joel Houston, his band, my brother-in-law, Mikey Chislett. We're both in this band competition, Channel V leg up competition. With, if you're not in Australia, Channel V, I don't even know if Channel V exists anymore, but it's like MTV for Australia before we had MTV. And so somehow we both won. It might have been because of the backing of the churches we're in, I don't know. But we won Viewers' Choice, they won Judges' Choice, and I think they won both of them, but they had to give us one.
So you won the people's hearts.
That's what we think.
They won the judges'
That's
hearts.
what we were told, yeah. So, and that was just like, that was the funnest thing ever. I'd go to school and people were like, man, I saw you last night on Channel V, and I'm 14 years old. And then like I started coming to youth because of that, like back at Hills. And then I was with like Joel Fevery, like these guys who like we still know and love today. And that was it for me. Like I just I loved youth. I was so like drawn towards God at a young age as well. I think like the family I grew up in, like my parents especially, just what was instilled in me. Like I remember having my headphones on in the car, I'd be listening to other music, which to me is so disrespectful now thinking about it. But Dad would just be talking, and like there's a lot of times where I'd still be like I actually would press pause and be listening, but like back then it wasn't cool to like listen or whatever. So I'd be listening to what he was saying. It's like really, like it's in me, it's deep in me, it's become who I am. And so like I was drawn towards God. Had a pretty like full on experience like as a family growing up. Had a sister who passed away, and that just like to me,
how old were you when that happened?
I was 10, so she was 15, and that, if anything, that drew me closer to God. And my parents, like I don't know, I look at them now, I'm like, I just can't even imagine. Like my oldest daughter is the age I was when I went through it, and it's just like I can't imagine what it'd be like to go through what they did. And so it brings up a lot of questions in your mind as a 10-year-old, like seeing and like going through something like that. And it was like, I remember praying like, God, if you're real, like forgive me, and like I was just so scared of like what was on the other side, I guess. But I did at some point like turn from like a fear thing to like, and I still fear God, love and fear God, but to me it's now like it became at some point like I want to know you for myself in a way that's like what I see in my dad, especially like
Wow.
dad would wake up and pray in the mornings and read his Bible. So I started reading. I got given The Cross and the Switchblade, that book, when I was like 13 or something, 12 or 13.
Wow.
And I read it like 7 times. Like, I don't know what it was about that book, but like it just opened my eyes to just this, I don't know, it was New York. It was like this pastor, Richard's uncle.
Yeah,
and it was like, to me, I was like, man, it's like drawing me in for some reason. So I was just really drawn towards the things of God and like thinking bigger than myself, I guess, at a young age. So
man, that's so cool. Like you grow up in this amazing family, and you know, walk through grief, walk through what is just a tough situation. And you know, watching your parents today they inspire me, because you know they're godly men and women of God, and I'm like, I don't know how I'd walk through that and come out the other side. But then to watch, you know, you and your sister like still in the house of God, planted. That's something I've always loved about you guys. But like you're on Channel V, right? You won. I actually remember being like a 15-year-old kid.
You might have been there.
Well, I remember watching it on TV, actually.
Okay.
I was on TV and watching you guys like win, and it was Joel's band, which was Able at the time, and your band.
It was big. This is like before the internet was like proper. Like,
man.
I mean, it was those ICQ and stuff, but like
ICQ.
there wasn't much going on besides that. So it wasn't like streaming wasn't really a thing. Napster was around. But,
and you guys like won this competition. But for me, like looking back on it now, after all these years, it's kind of like those were the like embryonic stages of something beginning to form.
Formative.
If you think about like Joel and you know Marty and your brother-in-law Mikey Chislett and Luke Munns, and then you and your cousin Simon French and some of these other guys who were all talented, like so talented, so gifted. It was like the beginnings of like something to be unlocked. But then you continue to play drums. Now we played drums in youth together, but how did you get involved with like drumming at youth?
I mean, obviously I started coming to youth, and then everyone knew me as a drummer because because everyone, when I came to youth, like Joel and all that, like everyone knew and loved their band. They were kind of like the Brimstone Rock for me when I was little. It was like at youth now, that's who they were, Able. And for me, like I was doing pretty good as well, but I was 14 and I was in youth. So I was like a few years younger than those guys. And so I was like, started playing, and it was so different to like just playing. And there's times I can remember like playing songs. I remember hearing the song Follow You. Remember Follow You?
Yes.
That really kind of drew me out. I was like, this song's like cool because it was kind of like punk and stuff. And so I was at youth, and I can't remember who would have asked me, but maybe I just started coming to like the worship and creative nights we had. But like I started clicking with everyone and found friends. And then obviously I gravitated towards other musicians. Wow. And so, it was like you and me, like our age. Yeah. I can't think of anyone our age who was playing drums, but there was other drummers, but they were either older or they were too young. So, yeah, man, I don't know. Just kind of got into it.
That's so cool, because I remember you playing drums again back in youth ministry, and you did that for many years. But then I'd love to talk to you a little bit about, you have this gift which is then unlocked, and it'd be cool to we'll talk about this in a moment, but that relationship with you and Joel begin to really form into what was then becomes, united. But I remember a conversation, seeing you and maybe Joel outside after a youth on a Friday night, maybe you just played drums, and like...
I can remember it so well. This is like down the Undercroft. I was dripping with sweat. Probably
because they wanted you to worship lead, right? They wanted you to start singing.
No, I mean, unless I played drums, maybe that's where I was sweating. But the way I tell the story is being so nervous. And Joel's like, show us this song. And I just remember sitting on that stairwell, and I was like so nervous that I was sweating, and like I was shaky and I was singing
because you were writing a song?
Because he knew I was writing songs. So he'd heard I was writing songs. And so he's like, show me a song. He's like, come over here. I'll show you, and show me now. I was like, oh my gosh. And so I would have done such a bad job of it. But he could see something in me. And like, how old would he be at the time? Joel was probably like 21, 22. Yeah. Which now, like, our age is so young in our minds. But like, for someone that age to like to see something in me and like
Wow.
kind of like show me what you've got. And I was writing songs because I was kind of over what I was doing. And Mikey Chislett, who produced this album and every other album, he's my brother-in-law now. And so even that, like looking back on the journey, is like I could see God's hand on every moment of it and like how he directs the steps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I showed Joel songs because I started writing songs because I was kind of getting fed music from Mikey. He's like, listen to the Police, listen to the Beatles, listen to this. And so I started growing my like my music, my taste, my vocabulary for music and what I was into. And so it went from being just pop punk to like all this whole, I was like, man, I didn't know this stuff. I knew it existed, but it just opened my like love of music. It was like Pandora's box for me.
Wow.
And so then I was writing songs because I knew like there's something in me that knew like playing drums in this band wasn't going to be forever. It was already, I could tell like that was changing, that kind of genre of music. And so I was like, I want to be a songwriter. I don't know what that was. I just knew, like, from a young age, even trying to write to like, who is it? Will Smith's "Boom Boom Shake Shake the Room."
Yes. Wow.
I took that song. I would have been like 9 years old and tried to put my own lyrics to it. And I didn't show anyone because I was so nervous. But like even then, I was trying to write songs, and so there was some sort of draw towards it. But
it's interesting, hey, how God put something on your life, and there's hints of it throughout your childhood. And sometimes what I know of life is that life is lived forward, but it's understood looking backwards, and it's not understood until you look backwards and you go, oh wow, I was writing Will Smith like "Boom Boom Shake the Room" lyrics, and you can start to see God's hand starting to shape you and craft you, and so you begin to write these songs. Like, what made you write these songs? Because you just thought, I'm just going to give it a go.
I don't know what it was. I think you know what it was, and she was, I have no idea where she is now. Remember Brodie Wales?
Yes. No.
Anyways, she was like youth leader and she was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So she was like really into the music scene. She was managing, she was doing all these other things. And so she would come and help us with our band, like do things. And we'd just chat in the car because she'd just drop us home or whatever after a gig. And she's like, well, if you don't like the music, write it. I was like, wow, that's actually, maybe I will try. And like I took that on as a challenge, not like a like whatever. But I was like, yeah, that's actually a crazy thought. So I started trying, and I love the idea of arranging songs. Maybe it's got like Travis Barker thing. I remember he was always into like the arrangement of the songs. Yeah. So I felt like I could do that because I was already trying to do that in the band. But then it went from like that to trying to write, and I kind of picked it up pretty quick. But there was a couple of years where like I was showing Joel some horrible songs, and like he just would smile and be like, "That's so good, man." Like, but then by the time I was 18. They were turning into songs that actually were like not too bad. So it was kind of like, wow. All right, so the journey's kind of really, but it was like so much hard work before that. Like, like, you know, the only way you get better at drums is by drumming and like putting the time into it. So as a songwriter, I was obsessed with it, and I'd do like at school, like thankful for my parents for like even letting me do it. But like I'd every night write songs till like 3 a.m. and like I'd get up and go to school, but then I'd go home early and write songs. I was just so into it and felt like that's what I was doing with my life. So I just committed myself to it.
Wow, that's cool, man. So like you start to write these songs, you know there's a gift there. Brodie, someone in your life says, if you don't like it, change it. And I like that. That's a good like kind of leadership principle there, because I think sometimes in leadership in life we can complain about things. Well, if that was me, or I'll change this. But it's like, if you don't like something, innovate and change it and do something that you do like. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like pastoring church. You know, we've always tried to build a church that we like. Yeah. You're writing songs that you like and that you want to sing. What was that journey like? Obviously, you're sweating. You're bringing these songs forward. You've never really written. And then you got someone like Joel who we loved and respect, and you know we love and respect now. But he's my brother-in-law. It's like whatever. But like he's like asking you to show him these songs. It's still your gifting's like still taking shape. Yeah. Like, what was that like? Because I love that someone saw something in you, and I think that's really key to see. When you see something in someone, dig for the gold. Like, get beneath the murky.
Well, I even think about like the story with Brodie. Like, I remember her giving me music. It was like Modest Mouse or something. Yeah. She gave me a CD. And it's like never underestimate what like just a small thing someone is gonna do. Like if they're a young person who's like a songwriter or a musician or whatever. Like it doesn't have to be creative, but just like one little encouragement or like one little like, hey, here's this. Like I'm just thinking about it now. Like that was massive for me, and like actually really slingshot me into the things of God and like the
you were believed in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like one tiny little thing can be so much for someone, even if they don't realize it. Like, so I can think of like little pivotal moments on my journey where it's like kind of what you said before. Like, I don't remember how you worded it, but it was kind of perfect.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Whatever it was. But just, you can see God's hand in it and like the things that encourage you and make you bigger.
Yeah. So you start writing, your relationship with Joel and others are forming, but then you write maybe one of your first songs that get recorded. Correct me if I'm wrong. Fire?
Yes, that was the second year. First year is What the World, which like...
That's right.
I was very much part of it, but like if I think back on it, Marty is probably like dragging me and
Yes.
Scotty along, but like Scotty and me were just like wide-eyed teenagers.
Yes. So you write your first song, What the World.
Yep.
Which goes, and the world will never the world will never take it away. No one.
Exactly.
And that goes on to a United album, which phenomenal album. What was that like going, whoa, okay, one of my songs is going on an album.
It was like, and like I always had a deep sense of like, this is what I'm doing with my life. So I wasn't surprised, but I was stoked. Like I was like, this is awesome. This is cool. Still thinking I was getting on a plane when I was left school to go to America and like do this for a living. But it's just like you watch God and what he's got planned. It's like your dreams are fulfilled, but maybe not the way you assumed. And it's always better, hey?
That's good.
So, but the next year was 5 Fall Down, which was months and months of me just worshiping in my room. And I had this idea, and it was like me on this little Casio kind of thing that I got from Mikey. And then I showed it, I don't know who, I probably showed it to Marty or someone. But it all just kind of like fell into place, that song. So it was already kind of, it wasn't like, felt like I even wrote it. It just felt like I just worshipped it out, like kind of in my bedroom. And so by the time it was done, it would have been like a week before the recording, whatever they were doing. And they started, and Marty was always like real, like kind of, he got behind me as well, like him and Jolly. Yeah. So took me under their wing, I guess. But yeah, man, that song's still so special to me because it was like, it just attached itself to me.
What I love seeing in your journey is the people that believed in you. Mm-hmm. And I love that. And I think that's the beauty of a local community and a local church is having people around you that believe in yourself. Because, you know, you're a teenager. I was a teenager. You know, you're not really, sometimes your insecurities go to the surface and it's awesome that there were people in your life, just a few years, like big brothers to us, who spoke into your life. And I think that's the power of being a part of a local church community to pull that stuff out of you. Because otherwise, like, how else would that gift been unlocked in your life? But, you know, okay, so you're unlocking this gift in songwriting, but like, talk to us about worship leading. How do you go from being a drummer that was just in the background, laying down some mad beats and rhythms, to like now being the front person? Because not only are you an incredible songwriter, but worship leader.
Well,
what was that?
Not like? Straight away. I was like, the idea of singing in front of people made me like, I felt sick at the thought of it. Yeah. But again, I always knew, it was just these weird things for me where like, there was a few things I knew, like, that God had put in me. And it was like, I just know that's going to happen, but I didn't want to do it necessarily. So singing in front of people was like, there's no way. But I was writing these songs. So it's probably like a couple years into it. And the first time I ever sang was with Laura. And we sang, was it The Fray? I can't remember whatever that song was. And we did it as an item. Yeah. I was working at JB Hi-Fi and I like, had to learn the song. And like, so that night we're doing it at youth. And I'd never sung like, but for some reason I was just like, all right, whatever. I'll do it. And I'd only just started even singing in the car on my own. Like, I was just so nervous to sing. But I knew I could sing because I was doing like recordings at home on my little 8-track thing that you guys use when you record your band's thing. And then, so I sang that song and it was just like, I was so nervous that like I stopped the song halfway through. And like poor Laura, like had to put up with like me, like I got up, I just stood up. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like so out of my body at that point. Yeah. I was like, we have to start again because it was just so bad. Got through it. And then I feel like that was like, I'm never doing that again. But there was just this people like Jad and that were always like, you're getting up. You remember when they get up, someone at the end of the night to sing the last praise song?
Yes.
I was like, I'm not doing it. They're like, you're getting up. I was like, if you get me up, I'm punching you in the face. So for a while they did it. And then eventually I just was like, I don't know if I heard like someone talking about something or it was a message or something inspired me just to be like, all right, just do it. So I got up at the end of the night. I was like, I was all right. So it was like every time I did something a little bit more, it was like, got a little bit easier and less scary.
Yeah.
And then I sang it in Counterfest or something.
Yeah.
But that was like, I just knew like I was going to be leading these songs at some point. And like, I don't, not by any means am I like the greatest singer. I can sing, like I got a voice, but
Pretty
I just think about like some of the people I know and like what's in their life like, vocally is like insane. But I just knew like there was something about my journey, my story, even like I think about my sister like passing away, all these things that have like added up to who I am, and God turning them for like his good and forming this human being that's like, there's always doubt in my mind about what I can do, but just trust God to do it. And like, so I'll step out every time and walk through the door that's in front of me, knowing that he's going to meet me there. And then that turned into worship leading and I was so scared to do it, but like, I'm thankful I just worked up the courage to try it.
I think life is made up of like small steps of faith. Sometimes I think people think it's like these giant leaps and you got to jump off a cliff and God will catch you. And like just looking at your story and just thinking about the character and nature of God, it's small steps. Like you said just a moment ago, I just walk through the doors that just open for me. Sometimes I think life is made up of just whatever's in front of me. I'm just gonna make the best of it. You know, like we've heard it said, like if you want to accomplish what's on your heart, be faithful with what's in your hand.
Yeah.
And looking at your life and looking at your gift and everything that's happening for you, you're just being like, you're not getting too far ahead of yourself. I'm sure you've got these dreams and your vision for your life, but you're just walking through the doors that open.
Yeah.
Whether it was, you know, you picked up a guitar when you were younger, or you picked up some drumsticks, or you drummed at youth, or you wrote a song, or you stepped out and you sung at a youth conference. You just walk through these doors and God opened these doors for you. And I think for particularly the younger generation, our generation, we can get so fixed on out there that we forget about what's in front of us. And I think it's so important to just live life in seasons. Because now like God's opened up this massive world for you, which it'd be great to just touch on that. But and people would go, oh, like Crocker always had it on his life, and or you know, man, he's gifted and he's this and he's that. But like what I've known about you, just always being behind the curtains with you, is you've just been faithful with what's in front of you, and I really appreciate that in you, and I think that's such a great attribute to have in our lives. But like you're writing these songs, they're going on United album. United starts to take off, and become monstrous in the kingdom of God when it comes to you guys packed out stadiums and whatnot. I mean, all you got to do is jump on YouTube and just look at United, and United's just made such an impact. Multi-millions of people impacted by the music and the sound of United. I mean, we could go into stories of people who were in crisis and they flicked on United or one of your songs, and you know, God encountered them. But you write this song. You write many songs for United that are just pivotal for so many people, but you do write this song along with Joel and others, Oceans, which ends up just being massive. Obviously, Taya sings it and does just such an amazing job of that. But talk to us a little bit about that, because
it was like, that was kind of, they'd been on the journey for years already, like Jolie and all that. I'd started traveling a couple years before that. I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years after they'd traveled like extensively, like I started traveling consistently. And then where I really kind of got involved was like I'd written a couple songs each album from an early stage, but then Aftermath was where I was like, I'm just going to come every day and just help however I can, or sit out in the courtyard and write songs. So it's not on that album, obviously, but that's kind of where I like kind of just got in there and like really learnt what it meant to like put the time in. Because these things don't just happen. Like it's hours upon hours of just grinding away at it. And then I remember showing Jolie, like, so the next album, I think Zion was after Aftermath. I could be wrong, but from memory, that's right. we were about to start doing Zion. Joel's like, have you got anything? And we didn't know it was called Zion. We just knew we were doing another project. And the first idea I showed him was the verses for Oceans. It was up on one of the balconies at church or whatever. And everyone was there. I think he was living overseas at the time, but he came back for something. And so we were showing each other ideas, and that was the first one I showed him. And so he's like, that's pretty cool. I was like, I think it's got something. So me, him, and Mikey were in New York working on ideas. And we just kept coming back to that one. So we put that down, and then the chorus kind of came. And then, yeah, it all just, the further we kind of went along, everyone went out to dinner one night, and I was in the studio still. I just felt like God was like, just stay here for a minute. And so I just stayed. Even that, like hearing God's voice throughout the journey, it's like never been like this audible kind of like whatever. It's just this small sense of like, if I just stay here. And like, it's funny because I'm reading, like, I'm trying to memorize as much as I can right now, Psalm 91, but like, he who dwells in the secret place in the Most High. And that's like that kind of thing where it's like, you, like, God kind of meets you in those places. And so I stayed back, and then Joel forgot his phone or something. I can't remember. He came back. I was like, hey, what do you think of this? And I showed him the bridge. He's like, yeah, that's insane. And so everyone started trickling back in. So we got everyone on the instruments, and we just played it, and that was it.
Wow.
So it was like kind of bookend of the album as well, because we didn't finish, like the lyric wasn't complete till Tay was about to come sing it, and Joel was like, we need to like finish the lyric. And so we went and found this little creek that had like, it was, I don't know who did what down there. It was like cigarette butts down there and stuff. And we're just sitting there going, all right. So we're just finishing these lyrics in like the dirtiest surroundings, but we get it done. And then, yeah, man, the rest is history. I remember hearing it for the first time when it was done, and I was listening to the album start to finish. And I kept being like, this song, there's something about this song. I don't know. So I didn't even get past that song for a few listens. And the prayer for that song, and I just trust that this is what it was. I just remember like other songs we grew up listening to, and just always being like, God, I want a song that impacts like people the way this song's impacted me. And not for it to be, it didn't need to be this massive thing, but I just remember trusting God, like there was something there, and then that song came along, and I just knew that was the answer to that prayer.
Wow.
So, and it's just done the wildest stuff. So I chase that now. Not chase like what I know is going to work, but chase after the things where like only God could make that what it is. So like even this album, it's like I'm not trying to chase down a song that I know is going to work or going to be like the word banger. Like it's not going to be like the song of whatever. But for me, it's just like trusting like this song is going to resonate with people because it's come from a place of like an authenticity and from a place of like desperately just wanting God. So
that's what I've always loved, is that it feels like even this album you've just released, it feels so just, and knowing you, it feels authentic to you. Like what I hear a lot from people is like, it's classic Matt. Like it feels like you. And I think that's the beauty of artistry, is you bring expression to who you are and what that is. And I love like Oceans, you know, this massive, one of, if not the biggest song in Christendom when it comes to just, in so many areas, just impacted so many people. But it started in the small places. And I think, you know, we can chase these big spaces and think these big things happen because we do big things and big things equal big things. But I think when it comes to the things of God, I think it's like you said, you just heard this still small voice, stay here.
Yeah.
And it happens in the small places, and it's out of those small places God births something amazing.
It's usually the people who are like chasing the thing I find doesn't work. But if you think of like David or like whoever wrote, I don't know who wrote How Great Thou Art, but these songs that really like, these kind of like songs that are like pillars in the church and like the journey of the last few hundred years. And that was the thing. I'm like, I want a song like that. And I'm not saying the song is How Great Thou Art, like, like at some stage, whatever.
Yeah.
But it has, like, it's had a big impact.
Yeah,
and
it
so
really
I'm
has.
just like, it's kind of wild just to watch what God does when someone like is like approaching the gift on their life with humility and like not acting like whatever. And like, trust me, I've had my moments where I thought I'm better than I was. But for the most part, like I can say like I've been around really great people and like, I've kept a level head through it all. And it's like, because at the end of the day, what are we doing? We're doing church. We're doing ministry. We're trying to bring people towards like the one we're writing songs about and the people like that you're talking about when you're preaching, like you're talking about Jesus. And it's like, that's what matters. It's not the gift. It's who it gave the gift ultimately. And so for me, it's just funny to be like, well, like, look how good I am. Whereas I'm like, that's got nothing to do with me.
Yeah, like talk to us a little bit about that. Like, how have you kept your heart pure? Like, not to say you're this perfect human being, but like, I can only imagine writing songs and then standing on some of the platforms that you've stood on and being in some of the spaces, and like, how have you, guarded your heart? Because, like, I think sometimes when you step onto platforms, it can be alluring, particularly in, in the creative and the worship space, because your job is to try and point people to God, but sometimes people are enamored with you, and it's like, oh man, like, whilst you don't like, you want to make sure that people are like, no, these songs and my gift are pointing towards him. How do you keep yourself humble? How do you keep yourself level-headed? How do you keep yourself...
I grew up thinking I was going to be doing this outside of the church. And so like all these bands that like was such a big deal to me, but then to be doing it in youth and church was like, at some point I still thought I was going to be doing whatever. And then realized one day, like, what is better than what I'm doing right now? Like, this is like, I get to write songs with my friends. I get to sing them at youth. I get to like lead people to Jesus, the God that like I know and love and serve and is everything. And so I don't know, man. I think like, I don't know if it's like little life experiences or what it is, or just the family I grew up in. I was the youngest out of all our cousins, so I was always quite like timid, even at like I gatherings. And that's still like, I still feel like the kid in the room, like when I go anywhere. I don't know if that's just God's grace to keep me like in a place where it's like not like getting ahead of myself, and it's allowed me to not fall into any like crazy traps in life, but like actually just keep what matters the main thing. So I don't know what the answer is. I just think for me, like, grace of God just kept me humble.
It's so good. It's so good, man. So along the journey, you're traveling, United takes off, church is going phenomenal. Your gift is just, amazing. You're blessing so many people. You meet Bree along the way, obviously a little bit younger. I actually was there the first night you guys hung out. So shout out Bree Crocker, Matt Crocker's wife, married of how many years?
Oh, geez. I think it's like,
if you want to get this right. Yeah, so 16 years.
In November.
Yeah. So you guys are married, but then, you're married for a few years, but then you're traveling, and then she stay-at-home mum. And talk to us a little bit about that dynamic, because I think we can touch on something here that I think will help many people, families in ministry. How did you do that? And how did you navigate that?
I think we did all right. I just, like, it's tough. And, like, looking back on it, I didn't do it perfectly by any means. We did the best we could, and it was just kind of like you just did the thing, and it was like, I think the great thing for us was the families involved. There was lots of us traveling together, and all of our wives were so close.
Because you go away for like 3 weeks at a time, or a month, or so.
Everyone, it was just like tribe. Like everyone would kind of help each other,
little village,
get together, and like, so that really helped. But at some point, like, I mean, maybe the last few years have been awesome in the fact of like just reevaluating, like, okay, we're all getting older, our kids are getting older. If we do this ever again, how do we do it and do it in our own terms? Like, not that it wasn't great, but like it took its toll, that's for sure. Yeah, sacrifice. So now it's like, we're not doing this unless we can do it together. So like, like we're moving, and so like that is a big part of it. It's like right now, stepping out in faith and watching God like answer like the craziest prayers with miracles right now. It's really cool. But for us, a massive part of us moving is like, we want to be diligent with what He's put on our lives as a family with what we're doing, like with Interlude. But if it involves traveling, we're going to have to do that together. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Yeah. So,
and I love, kind of watching a little bit of the journey. It's a decision you're making together. So you're traveling. United is on the road quite often, and you're married with young kids, and you and Brianna, your wife, are navigating a season of where she's at home with the kids. You're on the road, sometimes weeks, maybe months at a time. How did you navigate that season, and how did you do it?
Yeah, we just had to kind of, we had to figure it out. Another tough thing is like she left her family when she came to college. So she's lived in Australia for 20 years now, and like we would see her mom and that, but like, and she's so close with her mom and sister, but she's away from them. Like, so even once we had kids, like, it's just a different dynamic. Like, my parents are amazing, but there'd be nothing like as a mother having your own mom there.
Yeah, totally.
And so I think she's just the kind of person who just like gets on with it and is like we both, we're not the most amazing communicators. Like I could be much better.
Hey, you guys are pretty good.
I do it. But like we just like, you know, if the idea of being just sitting there and like figuring that stuff out. But she is kind of like, she's just the person who would just, there's no fuss with her, which is pretty awesome.
It's pretty uncomplicated. Yeah.
Which is amazing. And she's the best. So it's just watching her, even like I got to look back on it and be like, man, I could have done better, like in that instance or that instance. But that's just like us as like human beings. Like we never nail anything. So it's like we did the best we could through that season and just trusted God was in it. And even like the last few years for us, maybe that was just God's grace being like, hey, put the brakes on for a second. Yeah. Because maybe we wouldn't have done that without like, you know, life being life. So
yeah, sometimes you need it's like this train that's going at 100 miles per hour. Sometimes it's good for the train to just pull up 100%. A second and just reassess. Because if not, try and jump out of that train while it's moving. Yeah. You know, sometimes the blessing of COVID and some of the transitions that we've all been through, it's kind of good to just take a step back and go, how do we want to do this moving forward, you know?
And like, I'm just trusting, you know, the future for us is, that was a season of like, just God's hand on it and for a purpose. So like whatever's next for us is like, if that didn't happen, like then maybe this album, which I know for a fact I would never have made this album.
Wow.
And so yeah, it's just like watching what God's doing now, like the next few steps for us is like, it's again, we're back to that, like, all right, just one step at a time.
Yep.
And it feels like we're stepping out in faith and seeing little miracles. Even today, like we've been waiting for citizenship kind of thing for Bree. And we're like, we just need to trust that God's gonna, if it's either way, if we get it or we don't, whatever, we're gonna get on with the task at hand, which is like what we're doing next. Yeah. And then today, like she gets it and they're like, we're leaving in a couple of weeks. So we're like, this is crazy. Like, and like there's been a few things like that. And like I know you had Jono on here watching their story, same thing. Like just seeing how God like provides
big time
when you step out. So I'm like, I just want that sense of like stepping out of the boat and like walking on water because like, and like this is scary as
well. You're the one that wrote a song on it, bro. Sorry. Where feet may fail, but I think that is the reality. Some of us stay in our proverbial boat, and that proverbial boat is great, but God doesn't promise comfort. And I think it's so important for us to, God wants us walking on water. I preached about this on the weekend. You know, faith works outside of the boat when you're walking on water.
And if you're in the boat, you're gonna you'll get to the journey, like where it's going.
Yeah.
But you're going to miss out on all the things. So.
Totally. And it's when you're walking on water and when you're activating your faith, otherwise spelled R-I-S-K, risk, and you're going, I don't know how this is going to work out. This could totally fail, which is, I always think of Peter, the disciple Peter doing that. Like he's walking on water, man, this could fail. I could sink. But like, what better place to be? Like going, God, if this doesn't work, like we don't know what's going to happen. But God turns up. And I've always said, God will always turn up on the other side of your faith, because when you're in the comfort zone, you don't need to rely much on anything because I'm pretty comfortable, and I think being comfortable can be the biggest lie.
Well, also you don't grow. Like Peter walking out in water. Yeah, you see him, he built the church on. Well, that's how we worded it.
That's
like,
right.
Would he have had without that experience?
That's right.
Like that made him who he was.
Exactly.
It's like, well, who is God making him to be? So it's just got to be little risks and like steps of faith.
Yeah, he becomes the one that Jesus said, I'll build my church on. And maybe he needed that moment walking on water going, this is what it's going to take to do what I've called you to do.
And like, you think of parable.
Yeah.
What's the next 10 years? Like, where will it be in 10 years? It's going to be built upon like, what's the thing we've always said? Like talents and whatever.
Yes.
However it's worded.
Yeah.
Amazing. But it's true. It's like everyone's stories and journeys and their faith steps coming together to form this thing. It's like undeniably God.
Yes.
And his hand on it.
Totally. And I thought I understood faith. Being a pastor for many years, I thought I understood faith until like, you know, we stepped out of our proverbial boat, which is a great boat, by the way. But we stepped out of it and I thought I knew faith until you realize, oh, hold on. Like I'm looking back at just some of the last 2 years of just planning Parable. And the same faith that it took us to step out of the boat is actually the same faith that we need to engage with today. It's the same sort of like, oh, we're believing for a miracle for this for our church, and we need this, and we're believing for that person. It's all the same sort of faith is a mustard seed sort of thing. And I just think that's the beauty of the journey of stepping out. But yes, you may have mentioned this already, but you are stepping out in faith, and you guys are moving overseas, which I'm gutted about personally. I'm just going to go on record and say gutted. Sorry. Absolutely gutted. No, but just more purely as just some of our closest friends. But it's exciting as well, because it's like you're stepping out of faith. I think there's so much on your life, but I think with what God's going to do with what you guys do, it's just going to be amazing. Real quick, like talk to us really quick just about how have you stewarded that gift? There'll be a few folks watching, maybe younger people from around the globe, global reach. They've got this gift and they're going, I don't know what to do with this. How do you steward something? We heard your story a little bit. Yeah. You heard some of the voices of, like you heard, the voice of God. You picked up a guitar and you've just stewarded it. But like, what would you say for folks maybe watching on, listening in right now? How do you steward the gift that's on your life?
I think like there's a very natural side to it. Like there's a very human side to it, where it's like you have to do the time, and like if you want, like the analogy of it being a muscle, like you got to exercise it for it to to function and for it to grow and be anything. And so like if it's songwriting or worship leading or whatever it is, like songwriting, like for me, it was the passion was there, and like God had put that in me to want to do that. But I was very aware of like, I'm not going to be any good at this. Like I wanted to be better at it as well. So it was like, and I'd read these stories about, there's this guitarist for Red Hot Chili Peppers. His name's John Frusciante, and reading his story or hearing, I don't know if it's like, I think it's a real story, but he just so badly wanted to be in the Chili Peppers that he'd play guitar for 17 hours a day. And it's all he wanted to do is play guitar. And I was like, well, all I want to do is write songs. And that coupled with like, I already had pretty like, as a teenager, like I was the guy at school everyone knew was like in love with Jesus. So it's just so, and I was friends with like all the kids who were doing all the things, but they would always protect me because I just like, it's just funny how that worked. But like that said, just this thing in me was like, well, I need to sacrifice for this and put everything into it. And so I was lucky, man, like as a teenager, no responsibility. I didn't have to pay any bills. Parents were like really chill. Like they just trusted me. And they could obviously see something that God was up to something on my life. And so I just put everything into it, and wanted to get better. Then doing my part, he was doing his part and like bringing people like Joel, along on the journey to like grow me and encourage me and inspire me. And it was just constantly working on it.
So good.
Even today, this album was like, there's always been like I was writing songs on my own, and there was like I was writing songs with people and collaborating. And so there was this comfort in with like writing with other people. And like I've done that on this album too. Like Joel, I'd call him and be like, hey, can you help us with some of these lyrics? But there was a massive growth through it for me, like being like, this is on me, like to get this done. And if I don't like, if it's not me doing it, it's not going to happen. Yeah. And really just being obedient. I think if I could sum up like the album for me, it was just being obedient. Like, putting my time and effort, our family sacrificing for it, money into it, that I may never see again. And I was like, well, I can't imagine investment, something better to put my life into. Even if the investment is like, it's an eternal investment rather than like something I'm getting back here now to hear the stories on the other side. And that's the thing I've always been inspired by, was hearing people's stories about their connection to a song and how it's helped them in their time of need. And so it's just like, I want to get back to that. And so like, I don't know. I think for anyone listening, it's like, got to put the time in, and just trust God. But we're nearly 40, bro. It's like,
wow, yeah. Don't remind me.
Like if we were 20 and we're like 40 seems so far away.
I know.
But time just keeps, what do we say? Life keeps life and time keeps time. And,
yes, exactly.
And it keeps moving. And it's like, we're going to be 60 before we know it. And so what I want my next 20 years, I just want to be faithful.
Yeah, I think as you said, like stewarding the gift, it's what you do in the natural, and then you believe God for the supernatural. I think sometimes people can they can think, oh, like I do nothing with my gift, but and God's just gonna do his bit. No, you've actually got to invest. You've actually got to practice. You've actually got to do something about it. And it's when you do your bit in the natural, I believe God does the supernatural. You know, it's kind of like again, I keep talking about the message I preached on the weekend, but you got to plant the seeds, and then God brings the harvest.
Yeah.
You've got to actually invest. You've got to actually do something. It's a partnership with God, and I think so many times we can just stand back, sit back, and go, well, God, just bless me. Well, first of all, be faithful with what's in your hand first. Be diligent with what's in your hand. It's like that scripture, to whom much is given, much is required. And whilst God is going to bless you, while God is going to open up incredible doors, while God is going to shower you with his grace, you've also got to do your part in the natural. And I think stewardship is what you summed up beautifully. It's like, it's the natural and it's the supernatural coming together. God put your super on my natural. And just looking at some of your life over the past few years, I think that's what you've done. You've just been diligent. You've been faithful. You've invested. You've practiced.
I guess the natural's in our control.
Yeah.
And the supernatural's going to come from God.
That's
So, like,
exactly
if you can be
it.
diligent with things he's given you the control over and give it to God, then he's going to meet you. So, like, I mean, besides all the other stuff, like, read your word.
Yeah.
Pray.
Yeah.
All the stuff I'm constantly, like, having to get better at.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that.
Start with what's in your hand right now, you know.
I mean, we grew up with that being like it was like
big
such
theme
a
of
challenge. What's in your hand?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Because I think it's like, especially starting out in church, it's like, oh, we don't have that. But what do we have? Let's just work with that, you know. And I think for people who are listening today, you might be sitting there going, oh, well, it's easy for him to say because, you know, he's got this and he's made that album and he's made this. But like, I remember Matt just making whatever he had in his hand, whether it was leading a few hundred people on a Friday night at a local youth ministry or whether it was this next opportunity, you just were faithful with what's in front of you. I think stewarding the gift is actually just so important, and it's just been awesome that you've shared your story. But it's been awesome just getting to know you as if I'm getting to know you. But those people watching on and listening, getting to know you. But it's awesome, man. Your album, it's out. It's all on all streams, right?
on things.
All on streams. What's next, do you think, for that particular project? What are you thinking about?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I would love to do them live. They're not like on a Sunday morning at Parable. Like I'm selecting songs that I know are going to be easy for everyone to sing, whatever.
Yeah.
And these don't feel like that kind of a thing,
Yeah.
which they could be. But so for me, it's like figuring out how to do that. But just keep like expand. I want to create an ecosystem for myself. It's like
Cool.
the thing God's put on my life to do. Like people can see that and experience that however they want. But we're actually doing this a little bit live thing next week. It should be fun. So see how it goes. Excited.
Well, we're here for it. I know church is cheering you on and very proud of you guys. And yes, these guys are moving to, it's like this is the first time we're like announcing it to church, but you are moving to Nashville, which is actually really exciting. I was actually joking before.
It's so bittersweet.
Yeah.
We're like loving it.
Yeah.
But it's also like, we're just, again, being obedient.
That totally. And I think you guys should be. But I also, I'm praying it's going to be awesome, but also short-lived. No, and I'm joking. No, I'm actually joking. We're super pumped for you guys. But hey, it's been awesome having you on Parable Essentials. Is there any departing words for anyone right now? Anything you'd say?
We love you all. Can see God doing what he's doing in it all. I don't know. Love it.
Awesome. Well, hopefully that blessed you today, and we're so thankful that you could join us. As I said, like, subscribe, share. It's just been awesome to be doing the journey with you. I pray that this helped you and equipped you in so many ways. We'll see you very soon.